Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of African Economy. I am your host, Wang Water. Now the top stories. Zambia seeks extra $145 million through IMF program extension. South Korea shares gain on cheap tariff relief. West African island nation launches $90K citizenship by investment program. Plus, global financial bias cost Africa $75 billion annually. South Korea's current account surplus has jumped to $14.27 billion in June 2025, up from $10.14 billion in May, marking the highest level since records began in January 1980. This also marks the 14th straight month of surplus driven by robust demand for technology export. The goods accounts posted a $13.16 billion surplus as exports rose to 2.3% year-on-year to $60.37 billion, while imports edged up 0.7% to $47.21 billion. Meanwhile, the services accounts logged a $2.53 billion deficit, weighed down by shortfalls in travel and business services. The primary income accounts posted a $4.16 billion surplus, supported by increased income from equity holdings. The secondary income accounts showed a $0.53 billion deficit. In the meantime, the benchmark KOSPI rose to 0.92% to close at 3,228, extending its rally for a fourth session, lifted by gains in tech and auto stocks amid easing tariff fears and strong trade data. South Korea's top trade negotiator Yo Han-ko confirmed that Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix will not be subject to the full 100% tariff, benefiting from the most favorable chip tariff rate under a trade deal with the U.S. Samsung Electronics gained 2.62% on report it will manufacture Apple's next-gen chips in Texas, while Hyundai Motor rose to 0.71% on news of a joint project with General Motors to develop 5 new models for the U.S. market. Meanwhile, the Bank of Korea reported a record-high current account surplus of $14.27 billion for June, driven by robust semiconductors export. Foreign inflows also remained firm, with $4.52 billion in net purchases in July, as hopes for corporate reforms and stronger U.S. trade ties continue to draw overseas investors. Sao Tome and Principe launched a citizenship by investment CBI program. Applicants must contribute financially, with fees varying based on family size and dependent, as the program offers inclusive nationality options, excluding North Korean applicant. The Small West African Island Nation Citizenship by Investment Act came into effect on August 1, marking Sao Tome and Principe's formal entry into the competitive global market for second passport. Offering more insight into the program's development, Alfredo Trinidade, head of Sao Tome and Principe's promotion, commerce and investment agency, said the investment structures set it apart from conventional citizenship models, adding that to ensure efficiency, the government has introduced a 6-week processing timeline and established the Citizenship Investment Unit as a public-private partnership headquartered in Dubai. Finance Minister Situmbeko Musukutuane has said that Zambia is seeking an additional $145 million by extending its International Monetary Fund IMF program by 12 months. The copper-rich Southern African nation is striving to restore fiscal stability after years of mounting debt. As of July 2025, Zambia ranks among the African countries with the highest debt exposure to the International Monetary Fund (IMF). Last month, Zambia announced plans to request an extension of its $1.7 billion extended credit facility, which is scheduled to expire in October. However, it had not disclosed how much additional funding it would seek. To date, the country has received around $1.55 billion under the program. Global financial bias is costing African countries billions of dollars annually in inflated borrowing cost and lost revenues, according to the president of the African Finance Corporation, Samaila Zubairu. According to report, Africa's sovereign default rate are largely consistent with those of similarly rated countries. Yet, its debt trades at wider spreads, indicating that investors are pricing in additional non-fundamental risks. Zubairu emphasized the need for a program that would consistently publish more data on the real state of the economy and the performance of its various sectors. In response, the growing dissatisfaction with foreign ratings, the African Union AU plans to establish its own credit ratings agency, with the first sovereign rating report expected by late 2025 or early 2026. The Egyptian Red Crescent confirmed that nearly 800 aid trucks have been sent for inspection at Israel's Kerem Shalom crossing since July 27 as part of renewed efforts to deliver humanitarian relief to Gaza. The aid delivery follows Israel's easing of restrictions late last month, allowing limited entry of supplies after months of closure and siege. Amal Al-Imam, CEO of the Egyptian Red Crescent, emphasized that the effort is ongoing and critical, especially as more than 3,000 tons of additional supplies remain queued for entry. Standing nearby, North Sinai Governor Khalid Megawe reaffirmed Egypt's commitment to humanitarian assistance amid political tensions and accusations from opposition groups. The idea of paid leave, time off from work while still receiving a salary, may appear simple, but it really represents a complex and sometimes uneven system that is influenced by social norms, corporate cultures, and legal frameworks. Vacation, parental leave, and other approved absences are all included in the broad category of paid leave, as every kind has a distinct function ranging from relaxation and renewal to recuperation from illnesses or meeting familial responsibilities. Although everyone understands the concept of paid time off, its implementation varies greatly. The structure and implementation of paid leave are among its most important features. In some situations, national labor laws provide and defend paid leave as a legal entitlement. In others, it is a benefit provided at the employee's option, which result in a great deal of variation in who received what and how much. Additionally, some companies reward long-term employees with more vacation time by tying leave benefits to years of service. However, these arrangements can unintentionally deny younger or less experienced workers access to quality sleep, which might lead to stress and burnout at the beginning of their careers. Having said this, here are the top 10 African countries that offer employees the most paid days off annually. First on the list is Libya, second is Ivory, third is Togo with 41 number of paid days off in a year, third is Djibouti with 41 and Guinea with 41, fifth is Central African Republic and Senegal with 37 number of paid days off in a year, and seventh is Benin with 36 as well as Guinea-Bissau, and ninth is Gabon, 36 among others. Ghana's government has issued an ultimatum to satellite broadcaster DSTV, demanding a 30% reduction in subscription fees and warning that failure to comply will result in the suspension of its broadcasting license. Communications Minister Samuel Nate George announced that he has instructed the National Communications Authority (NCA) to begin suspension proceedings immediately if the demand is unmet. George accused MultiChoice of exploiting high pricing under the guise of exchange rate losses, pointing out that the Ghanaian cedi depreciated by over 200% in the past 8 years, which he said is no longer a valid justification amid Ghana's improving currency position. However, MultiChoice Ghana has rejected the proposed price cut, arguing that the reduction would compromise service quality and endanger jobs. Managing Director Alex Okiere stated that the company had submitted alternative proposals such as freezing current prices with suspending revenue remittance to its headquarters, a suggestion the minister dismissed as illogical. We'll go on a break, and when we return, we'll look at the top 10 African countries with the most improvement in government balance. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and now to the rest of the stories. The general government's balance is one indicator that rarely receives much attention but is extremely important in the dynamic realm of African economies. The gap between the government income, mostly from taxes, grants and other sources, and expenses is measured by this fiscal indicator. Stronger financial management and more economic stability are indicated when governments continuously report an improvement in its balance from year to year, whether through a decrease in deficit or an increase in surpluses. With that said, here are the top 10 African countries with the most improvement in government balance. Top on the list is Guinea with a negative 2.7 government balance, and second is Senegal, third is Sao Tome and Principe, fourth is Togo, Central Republic, African Republic, sixth a negative 7.3 government balance as of last year, and this year is at a negative 4.8. 7 is the Gambia, 8 is Mozambique, 9 is Burundi, among others. Airtel Nigeria says it is working closely with device manufacturers to bring down the cost of 5G smartphones as part of a broader strategy to make 5G internet access more accessible to Nigerians. At a media briefing, the CEO, Dinesh Bal Singh, explained that the future of 5G in Nigeria is not just about infrastructure. He described 5G as an ecosystem that requires both network deployment and a widespread device penetration to succeed. He noted that while Airtel has been expanding its 5G coverage in major cities and already offers 100% 4G coverage except for a handful of hard-to-reach areas, the company recognizes that network availability alone is not enough. Without affordable 5G phones in the hands of consumers, usage will remain limited. To address this, Bal Singh said Airtel is actively engaging with device manufacturers to reduce the unit cost of 5G smartphones and make them more accessible to the Nigerian mass market. In the meantime, he said Nigerians should expect more rapid 5G rollouts over the next few months as the company plans to continue deploying infrastructure ahead of widespread device adoption. Let's look at the US dollars against other African countries' currency. The US dollars against Nigerian naira is at 1,532.675, an appreciative point of 2.575, a percentage of 0.17. We go to the US dollars against South African rand, which is at 17.7010, a depreciative point of 0.0590, a percentage of negative 0.33. We head now to the US dollars against Zambian kwacha, which is at 23.2100, an appreciative point of 0.350, percentage of 0.59. We go now to US dollars against Egyptian pound, which is at 48.5700, an appreciative point of 0.1200. We head now to the US dollars against Algerian dinar, which is at 129.788, a depreciative point of 0.313. We go now to Angolan US dollars against Angolan Kwanza, which is at 918.650, an appreciative point of 1.650, percentage of 0.18, among others. Germany has launched 4 new Schengen visa application centers in Nigeria, Cameroon and Cyprus to enhance service access. Facilities are located in Abuja and Lagos, Nigeria, Yaoundé at Cameroon and Nicosia at Cyprus. Data reveals African applicants face significant rejection rate for Schengen visas. The move part of a new 7-year partnership between Germany's Federal Foreign Office and international visa outsourcing firm VFS Global is expected to ease the visa application process for thousands of hopeful travelers from Africa and the Middle East. Before this new partnership, there were no operational visa centers run by VFS Global in Nigeria. As a result, most applicants were required to submit their documents directly at the German embassy or consulate, or a process often plagued by limited appointment slot and long waiting period. With the launch of the new centers, VFS Global will now manage the initial stages of the visa process, including application collection, biometric data capture, and appointment scheduling. This shift is expected to significantly streamline the experience and make services more accessible, particularly for applicants living outside major urban centers. Lastly, on African economy, Tanzania has initiated a $1.2 billion uranium extraction project in collaboration with Rosatom. The project aims to extract 3,000 tons of uranium over 20 years, promoting economic growth and industrial development. I beg your pardon. While beneficial economically, the project faces concerns over environmental impact and community displacement. President Samia Suluhu Hassan presided over the inauguration of a $400 million uranium processing plant at the Mugju River project site, signaling the operational start of a broader 20-year plan to extract and process an estimated 300,000 tons of uranium. Speaking, the Director General of the Rosatom State Corporation, Alexei Likachev, said the firm was offering its advanced uranium processing technologies to develop Tanzania's unique geological potential. The plant, situated in the southern region of the Namtumbo, is the first of its kind in Tanzania and a key component of the government's strategy to diversify mineral export and capitalize on the rising global demand for low-carbon energy sources. And that brings us to today's edition of African Economy. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I am Wang Fon Water. See you soon.